Have you ever tried to fix your shoulder, your posture, or your bow hold over and over, and you still feel tight and you get tired fast when you play? In this video, we're gonna go over the kinetic chain, what it is, how your whole body from your feet up to your neck and your fingers affect your violin playing. And by the end, you're gonna have a few concrete experiments that you can do to make your movements healthier and your technique more efficient. If you would like to get into specific details, let's say the forearms role in fast playing, fast bowing, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I can cover this in another video. But I do go into a much deeper dive of all of this and show how to apply it in real-time practice sessions in my growing exclusive library, video library on Patreon. So I invite you to join my premium studio community on Patreon, where you can watch these deeper dive long videos of me practicing and applying them. You can apply them in your own repertoire. Also, as a community member, you would be able to direct message me and also participate in the group chat to discuss various topics. So what is the kinetic chain? It's the idea that our body works as one linked system. So for example, when one of our joints changes position or becomes stiff, then the joints above and below it have to adapt. And of course that impacts the muscles, and then the muscles impact the tendons, because the tendons connect the muscle to the bone, and so on. And for violinists, that chain actually runs up from the feet up through the pelvis and the spine into the shoulder blade, and then of course the neck, the way we hold it, but also, you know, the shoulder blade into our elbow, wrist, and fingers. So first I'm gonna actually show one example on each side, like one on the bow side, one on the left hand side, how this can play out. So let's go to the bow arm. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to exaggerate an isolated bow stroke. So I'm going to be I'm going to keep my shoulders kind of stiff. Like let's say I was told keep my shoulders down, nice and down and back. What that's going to create, it's going to create a disconnect between the shoulder blade and my forearm. Let's say I want to play a détaché in that kind of good posture. So I'm very still and my shoulder blade is pretty stiff. My movement is going to be mostly from the hand and the forearm. So right now what I'm feeling already, I'm already feeling a lot of extra work in my arm, and actually also my fingers, they get a little tense already. The thing that I did is I actually put my shoulders down the way that is recommended. Of course, you don't want to do this either, and it's recommended to avoid this. So a lot of players, they try to have really good posture and end up going like this. And there's that disconnect again. So you notice that extra tension, especially in my fingers, and how the sound came through the instrument. It was very stiff. Very quickly my shoulder was tired actually. Now this time I'm going to allow a small motion into the spine. I'm do some shoulder rolls, and I'm going to let that shoulder blade glide around, and I'll do my lazy arm swing exercise. Anybody can do this, okay? Just do this lazy arm swing, don't think so much about it, and you're going to notice that the collarbone does in fact move along with the whole arm. So now I'll repeat the same détaché, right? So I'm going to before I play, I'm going to breathe and feel the rib cage expand on the inhale. Notice what that does. So the arm already is going to hang more naturally, a little more naturally, and the hand will be softer. You can also try it with moving more from the shoulder blade and just letting the arm follow. Of course, let's say we're doing détaché in the upper half, a lot of the détaché you're going to see in the forearm, but we cannot isolate it from the rest of the arm structure. That's what's going to cause a lot of that stiffness. So everything has to be connected. So the left hand is also part of that same chain. And so what I'm going to do to demonstrate here, I'm going to collapse my posture like this, like hunch forward. I'm going to try to shift on the D string 1 octave. It's very hard because I'm kind of, when I'm hunched over like this, my arm has nowhere to go. Okay, so and also my head is way forward. So when I was doing this, already it was hurting actually in my upper trap on the left side. We're gonna fix that. So first, we're gonna check our knees that they are not locked. Pelvis in neutral, and we wanna have our head not here, but in a straight line. So we can nod up and down like this. So it's in a straight, it's actually not going like this. We don't want our neck to do this, but we want it to go like this. So when we put the instrument up into playing position, we just go like this, not like this. So that's important. And now, if I can do this, if I have this arm swing, now I have all this room to shift. Now that feels much easier. It looks kind of like this. And actually, well, what is in charge of shifting, it looks like the forearm is very much involved, right? However, look what happens in the elbow. The elbow actually has to come down. If the elbow was resting on a surface, the instrument would be going up and down like this. And also, none of this is possible without this part over here, the shoulder area, the armpit area. It has to be involved. If it's stuck over here, shifting becomes very difficult. And also this rotation, being able to do this. So that's very important. So when I stacked everything up properly, everything just became more balanced. You want to find that balance for yourself. One more thing about the left hand. If I'm hunched over, it actually makes my thumb squeeze more. I don't know, you can try for yourself, but when I'm like this, the thumb's actually doing that tendency. And to respond to that thumb tension, the fingers start to press too hard. And that, of course, creates all kinds of tension, like it becomes a chain reaction of sorts. So once again, I'm going to restack everything and check everything. Now my thumb is looser than before. Now it's much easier to go up and down. So now I'm just going to go into 3 mini experiments that you can do for yourself right away, so that your kinetic chain can work for you and help your technique and also make playing healthier and easier. Before we go into it, real quick, if you're getting any value from this video so far, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to this channel to receive more content like this and to help support this channel. If you really like it, consider giving a super thanks as well. So experiment number 1, it's very similar to what I just did, is to do a body scan for balance, like how your joints are stacked on another. So we're gonna play a scale, like start with something easy, like D major. Like D major scale. Then we're gonna pause and we're gonna do a quick scan from the bottom up. See if your knees are locked. See if your pelvis is forward too much. Are you arching your back? Does your left arm have this swing? And is your head aligned? And then repeat it, okay? Notice any changes in your shoulder or in your hand. So the second experiment I recommend is consider, like, if you are experiencing pain or discomfort somewhere, let's say it's in the wrist, Consider the joints, one joint up the chain and one joint down the chain, because a lot of time where we feel the discomfort or the pain or tension, it's not the source of the problem a lot of times. So let's say it's in the right wrist. This is very common for orchestral players, actually. Hello to anybody playing second violin, Beethoven symphonies. I totally relate to the struggle. So if the right wrist gets tired, first we're going to check the base of the thumb, and first check what part of your thumb is contacting the stick. You want to make sure that it's the tip and not the pad. That's super important. Then the knuckles, check where your knuckles are in relation to the wrist when you're playing. It's always better for them to either be on the same level or a little bit below. You never want them to, I mean, if they do get above, it should be either, like, it should be very seldom, okay? Maybe for a brief moment at the tip of the bow, if that works for you. I try to avoid it as much as I can. That's just for me. Might be different for you. Then, so that I was going this way from the wrist area, which is actually over here. Then I'm going to go this way and consider here the joint that connects the forearm bones, there are two of them, into the upper arm. So depending on where the discomfort is in your wrist, it could be in the middle, it could be on one side or the other. Depending on where it is, you can check various parts here. So this is actually very common area, is for the muscles over here. This is what happened to me this past year. Actually, I improved a lot with my physical therapist this year. A big part of the problem was actually because I'm right-handed, so I carry a lot of things outside of music with this arm. So let's say, for example, you're playing in orchestra and you have a lot of tremolo, you have a lot of fast 16th notes that are separate, they're not slurred. The muscles over here, they tend to overwork, especially if you're not used to doing something like that very often. So it depends on what you normally practice day to day, and then suddenly you have to play this concert where you have to play so much tremolo. Let's say you're doing Bruckner or something. So these muscles tend to overwork, and the thing is, these muscles, they connect both to the elbow, so again, the tendons connect the muscles to the bones, and this is more associated with the radius bone. These muscles also connect into the finger extensors, the tendons that connect to into the wrist where the fingers are going to start. So very common, the tendons that are attached to those muscles get involved, and that's where a lot of that wrist discomfort starts. Okay, that's where a lot of common tendonitis can happen. So it's about muscles overworking in this situation. So you see how the solution was not where you feel the pain necessarily. It was somewhere up. It could be, anyway, for each situation, it could be something different. And if this is fine, let's say it's entirely possible that the problem's further up the chain, in which case you would check the shoulder area, and that gets actually more complicated there. And then there's a matter of, do we need to strengthen or do we need to stretch the muscle? Tendons, we don't want to stretch them very much. Actually, they're not supposed to stretch. If they get overstretched, then it's really, really difficult to heal, actually. But the muscles themselves, when muscles work hard, they actually contract, meaning they pull, they get closer together, the muscles more dense like this, and the tendons get pulled. So that's how tendonitis can occur. So for some folks, it's a matter of strengthening first and maybe stretching the muscle after. Because again, overstretching could actually cause the opposite problem. That gets into this whole field of physical therapy, which I will not talk very much about because I'm not qualified to at the time of making this video or anything. But again, this is just, I'm sharing things with you that I've been through, that I noticed worked for other people. Yeah, so anyway, we're gonna go to experiment number 3, and that is to start first with the larger muscles and the small ones last. So the idea is larger muscle groups lead or support the smaller ones. And we saw that very well when I demonstrated the importance of stacking properly, like your head, for example, actually very important. The head is very heavy. To properly stack the head so that the spine is aligned, and also having a more neutral pelvis, so it's not like you don't get this anterior pelvic tilt that's very common these days from sitting a lot. And just those kind of things, those little changes, they already give better support to what we are doing over here. Okay, so you can take a simple passage, détaché, scale, étude, Kreutzer 2, I don't know, and you're gonna play around with allowing tiny upper arm movements at the start of your strokes and letting the forearm follow, kind of, and then the fingers follow in response to that, versus just what we did earlier, what I showed you earlier, leading more with the forearm and then the upper structure following. So you can do it both ways, and you want to see which one works better, and it might depend on what kind of passage you're playing, what kind of music you're playing. But most important thing in both situations is that we do not want to isolate anything. So you never want to like go like this and be like, okay, move only your fingers and things like that. Sometimes we do études just to strengthen the weak parts of our playing. Let's say we want to strengthen the back 2 fingers of our bow hand, which is a very common thing to do because they're weaker, but we cannot do it for too long. Okay, if we do it for too long, then we start playing like that, and then it can cause all kinds of problems. At the end, we have to put the chain back together. So in closing, technique and injury prevention, they're not separate worlds, and you can use the kinetic chain to improve both. Okay, so also you don't need to overhaul your whole playing, that way you play all at once. Actually, that's kind of chaotic. It's not recommended. The best way to do it is to layer one experiment or new awareness at a time to your playing and see what happens. Okay, just kind of do it in layers and use music that you already know, études, repertoire. You have to take it day by day. It's not something that happens quickly. It's not some kind of revolution. It might sound like something that might be revolutionary to someone, but it takes a long time to process subconsciously. It takes a long time to do the same thing in a different way, perhaps. Remember, there is more than one way to play the violin, okay? If you look at the great players, they all they all play in their own way, and they all make it work. Take one small idea at a time and make a little journal for yourself. You can also do video recordings like this for yourself. They don't have to be long or anything. They don't have to be long like this one, but you can do a video journal. That might be even more useful. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it was, let me know and share it with a friend or a colleague. Happy practicing. I'll see you in the next one.